Did you know that in China, the number of men outnumbers women by around 30 million? Yet, interestingly enough, some women are still referred to as leftover because they have not found a partner. Now, you must be wondering how this is possible. Here's a little insight into the culture and societal factors contributing to this phenomenon. But before we dig into the details, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to get notified about our latest videos. Gender imbalance caused by one-child policy. China's one-child policy had implications that went far beyond just curbing population growth. Notably, it upset the country's gender balance, leading to about 3 to 4% more males than females. This bias towards males, especially firstborn sons, has been a traditional preference, particularly in countryside areas. This is because sons carry on the family surname, inherit property, and become primary caregivers for their elderly parents. When the one-child policy limited most families to having only one child, a daughter suddenly became a less desirable option. This shift in preference led to an increase in female fetuses being aborted, which became possible with the advent of ultrasound sex determination, an upsurge in the number of baby girls being left in orphanages or outright abandoned, and in some dreadful cases, even infanticide. This bias for sons also had an unintended consequence. Tens of thousands of Chinese girls ended up being adopted by families in countries such as the United States. As time passed, the gender gap widened. Male children outnumbered females, which eventually resulted in a situation where there were simply fewer women available for men to marry as those children reached adulthood. This is how the term leftover men came into being. The struggle of leftover women and leftover man. In Chinese society, women are expected to get married and have children as soon as they reach their late 20s. There is immense pressure from family and peers to settle down, and failure to do so can lead to being stigmatized as a leftover woman. This label is placed on unmarried women above the age of 27, and it carries negative connotations of being too old, too picky, or too career-oriented to find a husband. The social pressure can suffocate many young women, who often feel they are running out of time to fulfill their obligations as daughters and potential mothers. As a result, many women end up settling for less than ideal partners, or even entering into sham marriages to avoid the leftover label and appease their families. On the other hand, men are also under pressure to find a wife. However, due to the gender imbalance, they have limited options. In China, traditional gender roles dictate that men should be the breadwinner, which can make it challenging for leftover men to find partners, as many women now prioritize financial stability and social status in their potential spouses. This adds another layer of complexity to the marriage crisis in China, as the leftover men are often seen as undesirable by potential partners. They face harsh criticism from society and are also labeled as leftover if they remain unmarried for too long. Changing attitudes towards marriage. In China, we're witnessing a major drop in marriage rates. While demographic shift plays a part, there's more to the story. As women gain more education and financial independence, their viewpoints on marriage are evolving. Indeed, many women are discovering there's more to life than marriage alone. They're setting their sights on personal growth and flourishing careers, and these ambitions may delay or even replace the traditional goal of tying the knot. The issue of gender inequality also prompts a lot of young Chinese women to reconsider the idea of marriage. There appears to be a connection between the dwindling interest in marriage and the entrenched gender norms and patriarchal traditions that persist within Chinese families. The expectations that women, even those with full-time jobs, should shoulder the brunt of housework and child-rearing is a common attitude. Add to this issue of widespread job discrimination against women, it becomes increasingly challenging for women to manage a career while raising children. Thus, these gender biases coupled with old-fashioned gender roles in marriage may well be contributing factors to the shift seen in women's stance towards marriage. However, it's not just women who are rethinking the institution of marriage. Men in China are also beginning to question its traditional significance. While the concept of marriage may be evolving in China, some interests and unique traditions surround it. One fascinating custom you never knew about is the phenomenon of marriage markets. These markets take place in public parks where parents gather to advertise their unmarried children's qualifications and search for suitable partners. It's a traditional way of finding a spouse that has persisted even as modern dating practices have emerged in China. Another interesting phenomenon is the rise of ghost marriages in some parts of rural China, where families arrange marriages for deceased sons and continue their family line. This tradition highlights the importance of marriage as a social obligation and continuation of the family name. The future of these leftover women and men. Despite societal pressures and the rigorous efforts of the government, Chinese women are increasingly standing firm and asserting their rightful place in society. Women between 24 and 34 have contributed significantly to the country's booming economy. In fact, women are at the helm of 41% of China's GDP, the highest percentage worldwide. The Chinese market hasn't ignored this trend. It's making the most of this rising wave of single women in the nation's economy. In 2009, the e-commerce giant Alibaba coined the term Singles Day. This event serves as an anti-Valentine's Day, aiming to champion the cause of single individuals. Celebrated on November 11th, this festival has transcended into the biggest shopping event globally, outpacing even the renowned Black Friday by a considerable margin. For Chinese women, this economic power translates into an opportunity to be heard. The ability to spend money on themselves and their loved ones enables them to reshape and celebrate their single status. And for men, the changing attitudes towards marriage will shift societal expectations and norms, allowing them to explore alternative paths to fulfillment beyond the traditional roles of provider and husband. For example, in recent years, there has been a rise in the popularity of xiaoshun, or little fresh meat, referring to young and attractive men who prioritize their appearance and personal interests over traditional expectations of masculinity. This highlights a growing acceptance of non-traditional expressions of manhood in Chinese society. The solution to match leftover women with rural men. Although there is no official solution to the marriage crisis in China, but we can certainly see some positive developments. Some rural areas in China have started offering subsidies and benefits to attract women from the cities to marry their local men. Furthermore, there is a growing trend for online matchmaking platforms catering specifically to leftover men and women, allowing them to connect with each other who share similar values and goals beyond traditional gender roles. For example, apps like Love is Blind and Marriage Tree have gained popularity among single individuals in China, allowing them to bypass societal pressures and find love on their own terms. Change is inevitable, and as society evolves, so do our attitudes towards marriage. The concept of marriage itself may change over time, but the desire for companionship and connection will always remain a fundamental human need. In China, this desire is being redefined and reshaped by the unique societal pressures and cultural shifts taking place. This results in a new generation of empowered and independent individuals breaking free from traditional expectations and defining their own paths to happiness. So, this is the hidden story behind the leftover woman and leftover men in China. What is your take on this strange phenomenon happening in China? Let us know in the comment box, and don't forget to like this video. I'll see you in the next one.